everybody. This is a beautiful man. His name is Anton, and he is a bright, bubbly, personable character that I've brought on today to talk about opposition, obstacles, and just the purpose they serve in our life. And I'm super excited to talk about this topic with you today, Anton. It's going to be interesting.
I'm more excited to talk about it with you than you are with me, man.
So, yeah, man, I think we should just jump in and get started because I think I've been thinking about this last night, that we kind of had this topic because, I mean, you know, we were kind of talking last night about like how competitiveness can bring out certain things, certain aspects of our character that can actually make us, you know, push ourselves harder than we normally would, maybe. And I think that, you know, you look at superheroes, the supervillains, and how they play off of each other and kind of create these dynamics that push superhuman, you know, attributes out of even the superheroes. And so I think like a lot of great things have been done by people who were down and out, and people kind of wrote off as being over or washed up. And then I think it's why we all love the Cinderella stories in sports, you know? So yeah. It's just interesting. It's interesting to think about that. So I just wondered what your thoughts are to get us started. We'll push it over to you.
Yeah, dude. Well, this goes back to last night because for anyone who doesn't know, so I'd never seen the movie Whiplash before, and Ian told me to watch it the other night so we could have a conversation about it. And yeah, I watched the other night, and that's probably one of the most electrifying movies I've ever seen. And you know, the whole point of that movie was everything like we're just talking about, was this young kid who gets thrust into this like top tier music school, and he has maybe one of the most difficult, honestly, like abusive teachers. And like both of us are having this conversation, like, you know, is that right? You know, because like you even said, you're like, dude, like you're probably going to get triggered by this movie because both of us have similar relationships with our fathers. Both of our fathers were very intense, just like masculine men with no. I think like I don't know about your dad. Like my dad actually has a lot of emotion in him. Like my dad has a strong feminine side, but he was so fucking ashamed of it his entire life. Like he denied its existence. Because like, yeah, like my father is actually incredibly creative, incredibly just romantic and all this stuff. But it's like, you gotta find that, you know, it's almost like you have to piece the pattern together. You know, like I told you, like my growing up, my dad was always into like African music, Indian music, like all this stuff. So you kind of piece together. You're like, there's something to this man that he hasn't ever told me. And the reason why I go back to this in terms of Whiplash is like both of us, our fathers were like that teacher in Whiplash, right? And our whole conversation last night was, and the main character in the movie was played by Miles Teller, for anyone who doesn't know. And we were asking, could he have reached the heights that he reached in that movie if he had, you know, a teacher that valued his humanity, let's say? You know what I mean? That like, and our whole thing was, can you push somebody? Can you create excellence? Can you create a Mike Tyson? Can you create a Miles Teller in this movie by being kind? Like, can you, or is it like you have to literally destroy? You have to push somebody so hard to the point where they're bleeding, they're broken, to the point where they have to almost deny their own basic human vulnerability. You know what I mean? Like you saw that one scene in the movie where Miles starts to cry because he is so hard on him, and the guy just says like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like he's like, "No fucking crying here," and I like, it was so that was so difficult for me to watch because
Yeah.
I actually felt torn because I there was a part of me that went, fuck, like this is too far. Like you can't do this to another human being. Like just are you unaware of what you possibly might be breaking in this impressionable, what, 20-year-old, 19-year-old, something like that? And
Yeah.
then I felt torn because I also went in not even in a way, like this, if this kid is up for this level of challenge, this is what he needs. And it's
Yeah.
like he has the potential to be one of the best drummers in the world. And this man, this abusive tyrant, might be one of the only human beings that could make him actually fulfill his full potential. And that's what was so fucking hard for me to watch because I felt like, and again, I told you this last night. It's like, for my children in the future, I feel I don't even want to prove this. I feel like I need to prove this for myself, where
Yeah.
I need to prove, can I get the same results with my children through love and also pushing them. Like it's not just all love, but it's like, like whoever my wife is going to be, like she has to form that strong foundation of love, and I also have to as well because there's one part of me that's like, okay, she can provide love, I'll provide the push, I'll provide the fire, but I'm like, that also doesn't work because if they don't feel like I love them, if they can't feel in their bones that I love them, and I push them too far, I could lose them. Like, and I think there's a line where you could literally just like lose the trust of your children, especially I feel like those 0 to 7 years or those 7 to 14. It's like those are the years that create the child. Like those are the years that create the worldview of the child, whether or not they believe in humanity, whether or not they believe in love, whether or not they can trust another human being, is those 0 to 7 and 7 to 14. So you can call it maybe 0 to 14, right? Because the emotional period, I think, is 7 to 14 is created. Um, so it's like, I was just thinking, like, okay, like because I know my strength, most of my strength, most of my resilience comes from my father because of how hard he was on me. So, and at the same time, I know how much pain that caused me, and I don't want my children. I want my children to be able to reach the same heights as me or even more, but I don't want them to to just deal with the level of fucking pain I dealt with. Like there has to be a way to find strength, like in like just love yourself because like still like I don't fully love myself. And I know that a lot of that, like, I know by the time I die, I will love myself. I can tell. I can see my trajectory. Like I'm like, okay, I knew where I came from. I know where I am now. I know where I'm going. And every year I love myself more and more and more. It just gets stronger. And so I'm just hoping, like, create can I help my children actualize who they're meant to be in the world? But throughout the whole time, can I make it so they can love themselves while they're being broken down, while they have to rebuild something? And then the question is, what what do they have to rebuild in themselves that can create the same level of resiliency that I had to create,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting, man. Like, um, everything that you're saying, like it's a balance. It's just like anything, our nutrition, our exercise, the types of things we're eating. I think it's even a balance to the point where you have to be as much as you can in integrity and know that you've messed up. You're not perfect. And you have to constantly strive to be better, I think. And then just let the chips fall where they may, where it's like you're going to mess up, you're going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, not be in your healthiest state at all points of time. And like even our fathers or the different things that we've gone through, it's like coming to a level of forgiveness and compassion for those people, because I love the man that I've become today. I'm not perfect. I love the man that you are, but we were shaped and molded in these strange oppositions and hardships, going through emotional and physical things at different times. And so when you come to those terms as you get older and you realize like your parents were trying their best, they had flaws, they had traumas, they had baggage that played a hand in them acting the way they did at that time, you start to see the human side of your parents and not holding them to this superhuman level of like, you should have done this, you should have been smarter, you should have been healthy, you should have been, blah blah blah. But then coming to terms with, you would not be Anton that you are today without what you've gone through. And so now the responsibility, I think, lies in what is the next thing you're pouring into. Is it a family and children? Is it community? Is it the podcast that you're doing and the people you're reaching through that? Is it your creative outputs? For me, I feel like there's a responsibility in some of the creative outputs that I put out to realize the effects that people singing a song or singing a melody, what that can bring to a person's life. And so I think I try my best to work on music that can be releasing for release work and healing and nurturing to support people going through tough times in their life. And so it's a way that I'm taking what I've learned and taking those gratitudes and realizing like I haven't always been perfect. I haven't always treated people the way I wanted to or said the things that should have been said at the times they should have been said. I've learned a lot. I've gone through a lot of things, and I think you have too. And I think these oppositions, like what we're talking about today, these obstacles, we want to just be like ludicrous, like move, get out the way, right? It's like, and just have this easy. And I saw Paul Chek posted a thing about this the other day. It was like there was a guy saying that like weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men, and strong men create complacency, where people kind of just get used to the peace and the luxury, and then that creates weaker men again, right? And so he was talking about and then Paul kind of talked on this subject a little bit. He was watching like a reel and kind of giving his feedback on it. And I think it's just so interesting. It's almost like, and I hate saying this because I don't want to, deep down inside, my heart doesn't want to believe this is the only way for us to grow. But it almost seems like this earth is a classroom for oppression, hardship, stress, uncomfortableness. And it's meant to be a challenge to you. Like, it's going to be here. How are you going to react to it? And I think the better that we get to reacting to those stimulants of opposition and obstacles and oppression and fear and all those things, the stronger we become. And the stronger we become, the easier things get, to deal with. Like after someone's been through 10, really hard events in their life, by about the eighth one, they're like, just a Tuesday, here we go again, and it's like for the person that it's happening to for the first time, it's the end. They're like, how can this be happening? I just don't understand. And they're in that victim. And I think after a certain amount of times, you just get battle hardened. It's kind of like those war movies where like the general's walking around, the bullets are flying everywhere. And he's like, get up off the ground, maggots, and it's like that state of love. And I think it's like, in the movie Whiplash, the teacher, I think, has had his ass kicked by life, and I bet in his mind he doesn't see himself the way that we see him as the viewer, and he's just saying, "I'm going to make this kid the best because I see something powerful in him, and it would be a waste for him to not step into that talent." And so It is, man. It's like you can see both sides of it, and it's almost I think where I kind of fall, and then I'll push this back to you is I almost feel like we all have different positions, you know? Like, I think about Tiger Woods quite a bit and the amount that he was pushed and brainwashed by his dad and just made to be a champion. And you saw, like, he was a fucking machine, dude. A fucking machine. And then that machine came to a grinding halt because it's too much to sustain that over and over and over and over and over and over again. Fucking lose yourself, you know? And I think that you get to a certain point where you think you're so big you can't fail, you know? And I think we all make mistakes. We all do things that are kind of out of our character when we're in those types of breakdowns, those breaking points, you know? And I know I've been there before for sure and have done a lot of things and said a lot of things to people that I wish I could take back, but I also know for
Me too.
whatever for whatever reason, those things had to happen, you know, and it was part of my growth, and it was also part of their growth, you know, and there was a lot of opportunities that I think I missed out on because I had that wounded, victimized approach to life, and so it's like in the movie Vanilla Sky, I think there's a quote where the Penelope Cruz says something like, every moment is a passing," something about, basically every moment is a time that you can turn it around, to something else, and change it if you don't like what's going on. And I think that's so true for life. Our mindset and our words that we speak to ourselves are so important for the evolution of just our mental health and mental state and approaching these oppositions and obstacles. So,
Yeah. Like one thing I was thinking about when you were talking about Tiger Woods is like I've thought about this a little bit last week or two. This idea of like what is life all about? Um, because I'm like it seems to be there's at least two to three pillars of life in a way. And it's like on one hand you have the pursuit of greatness. That could be one possibility. That's like the Tiger Woods. That's the Whiplash guy. Um, in a lot of ways, like even you and me. I think our lives, in a lot of ways, have molded this like kind of hero's journey, this pursuit of greatness, like all these things, right? Um, and I think for the hero's journey and the pursuit of greatness, I think you do need intense struggle. I think you need to be broken down. You need these oppositions that like crush your spirit and force you to rebuild your soul. Because it's like you have to know every part of yourself. Like you have to understand your darkness and your shadows and everything. And so if that was the only pillar of life that was valuable, I think someone could easily make the argument that yeah, then you do whatever it takes to break that person down and get the best opportunity out of them, right? But I don't think that's the only pillar of life. I think another pillar of life is like friendship, community, love. I think love itself, like that could be intimate love, that could be love for children, that could be love for your friends, your family, your community, all these things. I think that's an equally important pillar of life, just as equal as the hero's journey.
yeah,
It's just most like well, even if you look at like Hollywood, it's like there's certain archetypal movie themes. Like you have the romantic movie, which me and you love, and I know that, and it's like one of my favorite archetypal movie themes. But the other one of my favorite is the hero's journey, is the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter, the Whiplash, the like whatever movie, like superhero movies, right? It's good versus evil, it's triumph, it's hero, it's the hero's journey, Star Wars. So it's like these are two equally important themes of life in my eyes. And like let's look at people that triumphed in the hero's journey but weren't able to triumph in love. That's again Tiger Woods. That's this Whiplash guy. Like let's be real, man. How do you think his relationship with his girlfriend or wife, if he has one? And I don't think he had kids.
Yeah.
And so right there, it's like interesting. So it's like he completely dedicated his entire life to mastery and and overcoming difficult challenges, but he completely not even failed. It's like he didn't even try on the love front. You know what I mean? So his life is he has half a life, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think part of why you know movies like this are so fascinating to me and potentially you too is because both of us, I know myself and I have a feeling you're this way but maybe you're not, but it's like I want to live a life that maximizes both of those themes. It's like again, like as I always say, right, it's like a broken record. It's like I want children, I want a wife, I want a family, I want friendship, I want community. Like, you know, I think Joe Rogan does this incredibly well. You know what I mean? He's one of the biggest podcasters in the world, but you know, he has his mothership comedy club, and he has like people don't really talk about Joe Rogan like a mentor, like a Tony Robbins type, but he's a mentor for everybody. Like if you listen to Andrew Schultz, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Theo Vaughn, Mark Normand, like anybody that is friends with Rogan, they're always like, we owe him everything. Like he literally he's the reason I have a career. He's the reason I'm friends. He's the like and it's like I think again, he's a huge like Joe is an inspiration to me because I feel like he's one of the few people that has seemed to succeed on multiple fronts. Now, I don't know his relationship with his family. Like that's one thing. I don't know enough about that. And when we're friends with Joe Rogan, like I'm very curious to figure that out. But it seems like so okay, I guess maybe there's three themes. There's three pillars. There's family, there's community, and there's the hero's journey, call it. There's success. So I think he's completely crushed success and community. I'd be very curious to see how he is with his family and like deep, deep intimacy. Does he have the ability to be vulnerable and loving and open hearted enough with his family? I know he's a good father because I know his daughter speaks extremely highly of him. And he like I've seen interviews years ago before he was Joe Rogan, where like with Rosie O'Donnell, where they went deep into his relationship with his kids. And you can just tell he's not a bullshitter. Like he fucking adores his children. And
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways that's why he keeps them out of the public eye because he
Yeah.
values his relationship with them so deeply. But like this is all driving home to the point that like I think those are the three pillars of life. Call it the hero's journey, adventure, you know, just again, overcoming struggle, darkness, you know, fighting for something worth fighting for. And then
Yeah.
I think it's family, and then I think it's community. And even like Paul Check, you know, we both know his story, but when he went to war, and he was, you know, the head of the 82nd Airborne Division, as he always likes to say. And it's like, you know, he talks about how it took him 3 years coming back from the army before his wife said, "You're back." You know, the Paul that I married, the Paul that I fell in love with, he's here again because he was not here for 3 years. And I think that's an example of like, you know, obviously Paul's had a difficult life, right? Extremely abusive father, kind of like us, right? Um, but even him, it's like he was an adult and the military, the struggle and the denial of vulnerability within the military, it took him 3 fucking years to retain who he was
Yeah.
before going in. So again, it's like anyone that says, "Oh, life is all about you got to push, you got to push, you got to push." It's like I think we've both seen enough examples where the push is just not worth it. It's like again, if you can get back to yourself, which I think all powerful people can find a way to get back to yourself, but it's like there has to be, in my eyes, and this is what I told you last night, that there just has to be a better way of creating heroes. It can't just be all of like,
Forged in the flame.
you know, go
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting, man, because I feel like when I listening to you and I really ponder this whole thing, I feel like it's almost like everybody's position calls for a different philosophy.
True.
And like I think about Navy SEALs or like elite fighters, warriors that are completely broken down. And when they get broke down, they're built up. And what the army or the groups are trying to do is to make it to where when you face the fear, your courage is stronger than the fear. And I
Yeah.
think we would probably look at what they do in treating people and we would say, that's really fucking harsh, you know? But I also think that we have no clue what those guys go through in war zones. You know,
True.
we can see movies, but unless those bullets are really flying at you and those explosions are happening and you're watching your friends literally die on the battlefield with you, I don't think we could ever fully understand that. And I think everybody's trauma is the same. Like whether you're on the field of battle or someone's beating the shit out of you in a domestic violence thing or you've been homeless. And I don't think a lot of people understand the, you know, everyone's viewpoint is, oh, this person should get a job and not be lazy. But people don't really understand a person's struggle and then also what they've dealt with. A person can be homeless and have a relatively mild experience to someone else who might get gang raped or jumped or, you know, stabbed or, you know, sleep in harsher environments, you know, and there's just so much that we like to kind of across the board place judgments from the place that our perspective is observing from. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to do, but it also can get us all in trouble because we just don't truly know. And I remember, I think I told you the story. I had a girlfriend that I dated, and her dad died. And I remember trying to be there and consoling her, but I didn't really know how because nobody in my life had ever died. I never
Right.
experienced that. And then maybe 2 or 3 years later, my dad died, and I remember thinking there was a lot wrapped up in that for me because there was amazing times with my dad and there was very abusive, unforgivable times with my dad, you know, and so there was a lot of mixed emotions in that death, and I think that was the first person that I ever knew to die, and so it was a double whammy. And I remember calling that girlfriend and being like, "I'm so sorry. I just had no clue what you went through." You know, like I tried to understand, but I didn't truly know. And so I think what I'm coming back to is just to say, like, there's people who make effects on the world in their lifetime, and then there's people who do it in death. You know, and what I mean by that is like there was an artist named Henry Darger. You can look him up. There's a documentary about him called "In the Realms of the Unreal," I think is what it's called, and it's about a janitor who everyone pretty much in life just neglected him. Didn't even, you know, they had no real view of him. When he died, they cleaned out his apartment and they found the largest novel that was ever wrote. It was 15,000 pages. And so the story was very creative. It was about young people, like grade school age, versus adults. And it was like almost like a war, like a battle. Like it was like Civil War, Revolutionary War, reminiscent of battles between children and adults. And I think it was his imagination playing out because he was on the fringes of society. But what's interesting, he did these art panels that were like 10 feet tall. And they said that he had no money for supplies, so he scavenged, you know, all of these things like broken pencils or crayons, and he would come back and melt them down and create colors to make paint. And it's like one of the most MacGyver shits I've ever seen, you know, just that type of innovation of like um, persevering and figuring out a way, being creative thinking skills to get something done, even when you don't have the financial means. And so his art has been on display at big museums, and I think it's a reminder of like all the people who are unseen in the world. And it's interesting how people can have an effect on the world. Like Van Gogh never sold a painting while he was alive. And yet,
Seriously?
yeah, seriously. And no one ever took him seriously. And then, it took us almost 100 years to really cherish the gifts of Van Gogh painting movement. And so I think it's just really interesting. Some people affect us in death in ways that it took them a whole lifetime of being neglected, and it's just in one shining moment they create a ripple that goes through time. And there's people who we're overlooking in our lives right now who have the ability, to do that. And so I think, like, for me, it's a reminder to be more observant, to be in more gratitude, to be more in my heart space, to really fully observe all the things that this life is giving us an opportunity to do. And I think a lot of it comes through these obstacles, these oppositions, these, things that people kind of write off as like, fuck this, I don't want to deal with this, it's uncomfortable. But I think, like, there was a Wayne Dyer quote, and I'll finish this up and pass it over to you. But he says, when you squeeze an orange juice comes out. When you squeeze a person, whatever comes out of them is what's in there. If it's rage, if it's anger, if it's
Wow.
tears. And so he was a person that talked very highly of, when something comes up in opposition to you, don't be triggered. Sit in it and say, what is the lesson here for me? And I think it's something that I'm trying to do. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. But I think it's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to stick with as a lesson through life, is that, what is the lesson here?
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. There's like 3 points. I wanted to just like take that, but like one, I wanted to talk about the importance of people that push us, and I just kind of had an epiphany that happened um, when I was listening to you. And the other is people that are overlooked. Um, and I'll start with the people that are overlooked. I find it interesting how much attractiveness plays into like what we see. Like and this, this is Hollywood 101, but it's like the person with the gift that isn't attractive will be overlooked in comparison to the person with the gift that is attractive.
Yeah.
And I think death is the equalizer. I think in death, there's something about when the person's gone, all that's left is the art. The person doesn't matter as much. And sure, the person becomes immortalized. You saw this with Michael Jackson. You saw this likely with Van Gogh. Like, just, there's this death, especially when someone dies at their peak. Like, again,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson or something. There's this immortalization, and it's wild, man. It's like when people die at their peak, like you could even see Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, like fuck, it's a powerful thing. But it's back to this thing, like, people are overlooked. Yeah, man. People are overlooked. Especially confidence too. It's not just looks. It's not just being handsome or attractive if you're a woman too. It's confidence, and it's like, yeah, if you don't have confidence, you'll always be overlooked. It's like literally confidence is like what makes you cease to be invisible anymore. Um, Confidence is a weird thing, yeah. Like, yeah, confidence is like a primordial force in the universe. And it's like confidence is the thing that shines, right? Or maybe a better word than confidence is just expression. Because all people that are self-expressed are confident within their self-expression. You can't be self-expressed and not be confident in the thing you're expressing. It's like you have to be confident to be self-expressed. And I think they're the same thing. I think when people are talking about confidence, is you have the ability to express. Like a lot of time, I think we think about self-expression like these big, bold exclamations of art, or if you're a funny guy, you're funny and you're self-expressed, or if you're, I don't know, masculine and you express yourself powerfully. There's always these like there's different ways to express yourself, but I think it's like I think if like some people just are not charismatic, or actually, we have to define what charisma is, because a lot of the time I think we think of charisma as being charming. But maybe charisma is just the magnetism that comes from believing in yourself. Because we all know people that are charismatic, but they're not necessarily charming. There's just
Yeah.
this they walk into a room and they speak, and you're like, you're not inspiring me in a joyful laughter, content way, but I can't look away from you. Even in some sense, I find Bono of U2, he has a little bit of this at times, where he has this intense charisma, where it's just like, I don't even know if I like you right now, but I can't look away from you. It's just this like it's just this absurd thing.
Yeah.
And so I think like, yeah, like that janitor, it's so unfortunate. Like, and then another thing came to my mind about people that they don't get glory in life, but they get glory in death. And I think this is why love is so important, because again, imagine you're somebody where you don't get any glory in life, like let's say Van Gogh, right? Like, I really hope he had love in his life. I really hope he had friendship and community, and like, I don't know if he had children, I don't know if he had a long-term partner, but like, that's the kind of shit. Like, if someone told me, like, Anton, um, you're not gonna have any, you're not gonna have any glory in life, but you're gonna have it in death. The only like, I'd be like, cool, I'm okay with that, as long as I can be happy, like as long as I can have love in my life. Because if I can just love myself and love the people in my life and love my friends and love my family, and it's like, and then I pass on and then I get the glory, I'm like, cool. Like at least I enjoyed my life. But I really hope that janitor, like I really hope he had love in his life, because that would be painful. Like not only to be overlooked, but also like, 'cause, you see movies of these people in New York. For what it's always New York. It's always like the troubled artist or the troubled person in New York, and they're by themselves, and they don't have any friends, and their girlfriend just left them or something, and it seems like they have nothing, and it's like that. Again, a lot of the time, that's the lead up for the punchline of the movie of them getting famous. But let's take fame. Let's say they never become famous, and they become famous like later in life. It's like, God, man, that's a lot of struggle. That's a lot of pain, and so that's the one thing I want to touch on in terms of just people that um, gain glory and fame when they're gone, but they don't have it when they're alive. It's like that's tough, man. If someone told me, well, because think about how hard we work for things, right? It's like I know about me, I know about you, I know with you with listening to Smile, and like just I see this as like your legacy. I see this as what you're creating, and then me with like to be honest, in the last few weeks, I've questioned if I'm even gonna do Arc Vision Media. I know like my big whole dream is like you know you know, do my podcast, and then like for the longest time, my dream was do my podcast, get enough money to create Arc Vision Media, and then fund the next generation of creatives. And I'm starting to wonder now if that happens, cool. If that's in the cards for me, but if it's not, I'm actually okay, because I realize I think in the last year of traveling so much, I think I've realized that I don't really know if I'm as much the business CEO, creator, founder type as I thought I was. I think I might be more the adventurer, Indiana Jones, just adventuring. Like, because I just, again, like when I really release my control in life, I realize that I think I'm just more the adventurer. Like, at least in this chapter of my life. Maybe again, things change. Like
Yeah.
maybe in 5 or 10 years, it dawns on me and like something awakens in me. I go, no, I'm meant to be the CEO at this point in my life. But right now, like I'm just like, and the reason why I bring this up is this idea of glory and death, and like if someone told me like, okay, like you can't actualize Archvision Media in this lifetime, and it's never going to become actualized, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm okay with letting go of that. I think the hardest thing would be letting go with that would be letting go of the attachment or really not even the attachment, the identity I've created around that dream. I think so much of the time it's like we create, or at least I do. Like
Yeah.
it's not that I just am going to create Archvision Media. It's that I'm the founder. I'm going to be the founder of Archvision Media. It's going to be my legacy. People are going to know me for that. In a way, it's going to give me the credibility that I did something with my life, because I've always had chip on my shoulder because my dad, I felt, didn't believe in me when I was a kid. Right. So it's like so much of that is wrapped up in I need to do something great to prove my dad wrong. And I still, as much as every time I think I'm past that, I go, oh, I still think I had a little bit of that in me. Just like
Yeah.
still, like fuck you, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Um, and then so moving on to the other part though, about back to this whiplash thing and people that push us. I just kind of had an epiphany, and I actually had this epiphany when I was watching the movie, that we need people like that, call him dickhead or whatever, because I don't even remember. J.K. Simmons. We need J.K. Simmons in the world, because they will be the one person, the one archetype that will create mastery in the world. They are, and I think in a way, they voluntarily take on the archetype of the villain for whoever they're working with to create the space for that mastery. So he willingly was capable of destroying his reputation and any capacity of, I don't know, love or camaraderie he had with any of those students. He was able to just throw that away to try to get the best out of these students. And at first, that triggered me, and I said, that's too far. But then I thought about it, and I said, okay, again, I think we're back to the parents thing. Like, let's say my children. Okay, so my wife, whatever she is, I don't know what she's going to be. If she's going to, like, who cares? But between the two of us, I feel we need to create a foundation of unconditional love and power. I think there needs to be this element of, forging them in the flame to a degree. But to be very honest, in a lot of ways, I think one of the best potential opportunities would be me and my wife raising our kids, creating that foundation of love. Um, I know I'm capable of helping people achieve greatness, so I know I'm capable, like you are, of pushing them. But I think there's a line for me. I just, if I have to cross that line into losing, if my kids ever have to question if I love them, I think that's the line. I don't. Time will tell. When I'm in that position, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I don't want to cross that line. So one thing I'd actually want to do is I'd want to find J.K. Simmons, like a boarding school or a private school, and send my kids there. Be like, look, me and your mother love you too much. We're not able to push you the way that you need to be pushed. Because, and again, I don't want to make my kids turn into heroes if they don't want to. But if I see the inclination of a hero in my children, I'd be like, I love me and your mother. We love you too much to push you the way you need to be pushed. And I know you need to be pushed. I need you to be broken so you have the opportunity to rebuild yourself. So just know I love you, and I'm about to throw you into the lion's den. I'm going to send you this boarding school for let's
Yeah.
say 4 years, and I will come, during Christmas time, during Easter, whatever thing. But just know that I am willingly, and I know I am throwing you into a man who is probably going to shatter you. um, and the thing is, and again, we have to trust the J.K. Simmons of the world, because again, that could very quickly and easily go from pushing the child to, like, that could go with just power, brutality. That could turn into, honestly, like, in a perverted sense, molestation, rape. Again, because any human being who's capable of crossing that line,
Yeah.
what kind of human being is capable of crossing that line? Right? How broken do you have to be, potentially? I don't know this, but there's a good chance that a certain number of the people willing to push people past a breaking point
Our
are psychotic, right?
Yeah.
And then so it's like the trust you have to have in that person to take care of your children and to like literally give them the opportunity and like literally you're giving them the green light, break my child, like break them,
Yeah.
shatter
Well,
them. And the last thing I'll say about this is like just like you got to find somebody who's willing to cross that line, but someone that you can still trust.
yeah, yeah. Well, we're at 45 minutes. I was going to see if we wanted to do the Q&A, but
Yeah,
also,
let's jump into Q&A soon.
yeah. But I just wanted to say that what you just said kind of reminds me of what is that book that we had to read in school? The Watcher? No,
The Giver?
The Giver. Yes. So The Giver. Remember the guy Jeff Bridges plays in the movie when they adapted it to a movie, and he lived on the fringe of society, and he was like the best and the worst of and they entrusted him with the ability to tell them when they were messing up or going too far, and the amount of pain and stuff that he had to hold for the society, which I feel like is really interesting. And then the last thing I'll say is the yin and yang. Like the children that you have, each child will probably have different necessities. Some you'll have to push, some you won't.
Yeah,
It
true.
really depends on their personalities and all of that. But I think like you'll know at the time the right thing to do is, as far as you know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think like as long as you keep in your mind, I did the best that I could with the information that I had at the time. It's just how it's going to go, man. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody is. They're not going to be the perfect kids. And everybody's just doing the best they can.
No, you're right. And I think, yeah, I definitely have this idealism to me. There's a part of me that's like I can be the perfect dad, like you know what I mean. And I
Yeah.
know I won't because again, like I got my own stuff, and I think really, the perfect father is truly selfless. Like I think it's really like even still me, I still have an element of I want my kids to be great. That is a bias I have, and that's something that
Yeah.
by the time I have children, I want to make sure that whoever they're supposed to be in the world, I just let go of any of my attachment to any outcome and let them be who they are. So
Yeah.
let's move on to Q&A. Is this Sharon? Sharon, are you still here? Daphne, are you still here? Both Sharon and Daphne. Obviously, you know Sharon. Daphne's also from my community. Wonderful, wonderful lady. Yeah, man, take us away.
Yeah. So we're done. We're done.
Well, I mean, let's jump into Q&A. So, do you have anything, or are you just kind of open to whatever they wanted to ask?
Yeah. Just if they have any questions or want to share anything, let's hear what they have to say. I don't know who's still here, still around, but yeah, I think that would be neat.
Beautiful. And I just want to look through some of these. Yeah, Daphne said hi. Yeah, and Daphne, the cool thing about my music community was that like people actually became friends with each other. So it's like we had a Discord server, a community server, and we'd all talk and hang out and talk about music. And all of these people are rock and metalheads. Actually, a lot of it, like Daphne and Sharon. Sharon goes to Godsmack concerts and Disturbed concerts and stuff.
That's
Like she's
cool.
really cool. And then, yeah, this is a beautiful comment, and this is why I love Anton so much. Love is the greatest gift of all. I don't respect rich people if they don't have qualities of empathy, compassion, and love for their fellow humans. Yeah, it's just hard, man, because so much of the
One,
time.
I'll just say this: one day there will be a humanitarian that is somehow set into position by the universe that has Elon Musk, Bill Gates money, and we'll see the world change from one person's wealth one day. It's coming, man. And you know, it's just going to be interesting times, man. We're in a big shift, so it's going to be cool to see changes happen.
Yeah, man. It's I'm excited about the future, dude. I know there's a lot of crazy shit coming down the pipeline, and it could get pretty fucking scary. But I think, like in the big scheme of things, in the global story arc of the universe, it's going to be exciting, man. Like good,
Yeah,
and also like we're about to head into the hero's journey part. We're about to head into the hero going into the darkness and facing the big bad villain, and it's like, yeah, I just see it as the Avengers, man. Like, Iron Man and Captain America and Spider-Man. Like, we're all like,
we're
you
in
know,
there. Yeah,
I'm like a cross between Iron Man and Spider-Man. I have the goofy, childish side of Spider-Man, but I also, I don't know, I definitely have this like quality of Tony Stark as well in a way. Yeah, I think I'm cross between that, and then maybe I don't know, maybe like a little bit of like Captain America in a weird way. I think there's like these like higher ideals I have of just
yeah.
like just universal love and stuff that he has. I don't think I'm very much Thor. I don't know if I have very much. It's funny. I find so much of the time I haven't seen all of the Avengers movies or anything, but a lot of the time I'm like, who is Thor other than just a supremely handsome man who's really strong, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh man. Well, yeah, man. Well, I think we did good. We have another comment here. Um,
Oh yeah, we do. Oh, we do. Did Let's see. Uh, oh, I have it on top chat. That's why I can't see any new ones. I didn't see any of these. Okay. Um, Great podcast. My grandkids were raised with love, and they got perfect grades in college and have good jobs, but they make sure to enjoy life with each other and their friends. Yeah, that's it. And like, not everyone has to be a hero. I think me and Ian, I think because we're kind of more the hero types, or we have this idea that like, yeah, everybody has the hero's journey ahead of them. But I think a lot of people are just here to have just really beautiful, simple lives. And I know with me, I just have to remember that. Yeah, we all have our different journeys, man. But Ian, I think you might have frozen. Sharon, has Ian's face frozen? Ian, thanks for these podcasts. You're inspiring. Yeah, Ian dropped internet troubles. Well, Sharon, thank you very much for stopping by and hanging out. I always love you. Yeah, I always love you, and just thanks for the unconditional support. So, adios, and have a great day. Okay.